Okay, class. So you're going to go to www.aceitlab.com. Type in your email address, the full email address. And type in the password that I gave you. Then in this drop-down box, I want you to find something that says 5 machines. I have more because I'm added to multiple classes. Then you're going to say copy to my lab. Are you in?
But you don't highlight. You still gray.
Because you have 3 already. So you got to get rid of these 3.
So highlight one. Delete it. Highlight two. Deactivate. Oh, that's right. Delete it. Highlight 3. Delete it. Now copy. Now you gotta choose it. Now, good.
So guys, right now, it is just sitting there dormant. You can't turn on any of the machines. We want to limit it so students can only do 1 lab at a time. So when 1 lab is activated, you can't activate any others. So right now we have the 5 machine lab, and we're going to activate it. Once it's activated, here's the 5 machines. Scroll all the way to the bottom. This is using 2016, but as far as you're concerned, 2019 and 2016 look the same. I don't have any internet access on any of these machines, but for this next lab, we don't really need it. Okay? So I'm not going to do the failover clustering lab. I'm going to do the network load balancing lab because we can do that on ACE-IT. I'm probably not going to get too far because a lot of people are going today. So if they close the school and we do, we have to do everything online, this is what we're going to use. So I'm gonna, instead of being one big lab where I have all the machines for all the labs, we're going to do little labs in sections. I'll go at home, record it on ACE-IT, upload it to YouTube, embed that YouTube page, YouTube video on a page inside of D2L, so you won't have to go to YouTube. So you'll open up your D2L, follow along in the lab to practice. You'll continue doing the videos on LinkedIn Learning. You'll continue to do the quizzes, everything else like you have been at home anyways. So I'm just going to provide a method for you to be able to do the labs at home by watching the recording. Sign into ACE-IT. Are you there? Yeah. Oh, okay, good.
Will you live stream or just record it?
I'm going to do my voice and record my screen. Yeah, so yeah, I'm going to use my voice at the same time. So just like I do my normal videos, you know, I'm using a camera right now. So I'm going to turn on S1. Then go to console. Give it a few minutes to boot. I'll be right back.
So you just hit like this, here,
And then he just turned on S1.
All right.
So, I'm curious about
You can like
let's just stick right to that. So, reference fonts, like, I follow that. No.
I get it. If I just sit down and.
So I
And that's like the only thing that's kind of about. The other stuff is really just tedious. Getting through like I just kind of really have left this stuff. But that's like. It's mostly just leave it on. Figure it out. But yeah, I mean,
like it's nice to like, you know, just like what I usually do is I just like
listen to the podcast.
yeah.
As I was thinking, do a lot of stuff. So it's kind of
Like just keep it like what if you have like a phone or something, just keep it on your phone. So you can watch it.
well, whatever else I can do.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a good idea.
So like if they ever have like well it's just the guy who makes your television, you don't know
Yeah, there's nothing I can do as far as funding.
But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the downhill point for my classes. I got most of my stuff out of the way for my English class.
So what we're going to do, my script in the lab that we build in class creates the DC. You don't have that now. So we're going to create the DC first. That's what we're going to turn S1 into.
Maybe within the next week or two, if I end up having some time. I'm working on building a shipping site right now, so I'm a little bit like.
The IP scheme that we have to use on ASIT, if we connect it to the internet, is different than in class. So that's why I chose not to connect it to the internet, so we can use the same IP scheme.
Yeah, particularly for these, I'll see what I can do. I'm also going to be using it for class.
Yes, good question. I'm going to go over here where the video can hear me. He's asking, will your, all your work be saved when you close out of the screen? Yes, but the machines might be hibernated. The little on button will be amber. If I go back to lab, this right here is green if it's running, gray if it's not turned on, amber if it went to sleep. So all you have to do is go to the amber machine and just click on, and it'll turn it back on, and it'll save your spot. If you want to start a lab again, do it a second time, deactivate it, then reactivate it, and you're back to a clean slate. Guys, we can't press Control Delete. This is Control Delete, the button. I'm going to press Control Delete and then sign in.
What's the combination?
Press the button. No combination. So what I'll do is, on D2L, I'll create a folder called Labs. And under each lab, I'll have the name of the lab on one web page. So it might be 4 or 5 videos for one lab, but I'll have one lab, I'll give it the name of the lab, like NLB, and then have all of them there. Again, don't use Internet Explorer. Use Chrome or Firefox. If you try to sign into Ace IT Lab and just get a blank page, open it up in the incognito tab. So once you get in, go to local server on the server manager. You can just go into Windows 10. You can just do it from Windows 10. So I'm going to go to Ethernet, right click and go to properties. Then do IPv4. I'm going to put a gateway here, but we don't really have a gateway. It's fine. Again, this isn't going to work, but I'm just doing it to be complete. So the IP I'm typing is 172.16.0.2. I'm going to go slowly because I know the screen is difficult to read. 172.16.0.2. The subnet mask is 255.255.0.0. The gateway, which is just here for pretend, is 172.16.0.1. And the DNS is 10.13.2.5. And the second DNS is 10.13.2.7. I'm going to click OK, 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 and until it closes. Then go back to the server manager. I'm going to click on computer name, then click the change button, and in lowercase I'm just going to call it DC. Then I'm going to click OK, 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 close until it prompts me to restart. I'm gonna click the button to sign back in. Guys, I had to click on this box a couple times before actually registered my key. Once that blue bar stops moving along the top, I'm going to click Manage and go to Add Roles and Features. Again, we're turning this into a domain controller. Go to Add Roles and Features, and I'm going to click Next until I eventually get to, I only have one server right now that I'm working with, so it only shows one server. I'm going to keep going next until I get to server roles. And then we're going to choose Active Directory Domain Services. When I click that box, a pop-up's going to be asking me essentially, do you want to install the tools needed to manage that service? And we're going to say add features. Click next, and you're just going to keep walking through the wizard and check this restart. It's not going to restart now, it's going to restart after the next phase. And then click Install.
some of them are reading this. Some full-size chickens. This is probably gonna be like traditional. Foghorn leghorn, sow, chicken, just like red, yellow legs. But that's when they're born, so at this point he's only like 3 weeks. Just had that in for chicken at this point.
I'm just going to pause the video for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to go back to ACE, and right here I have a link. If you close this, you can get to it from the notification flag. Click on that link and it's going to start the promotion process. So the first thing we did was the installation. Now we're going to turn it into a domain controller. So I'm going to create a new forest. I'm going to call it contoso.com. Add a new forest. I know my screen is small. contoso.com. Click next. It's going to give it a minute to make sure no one else is using that domain within your current network. I want to show you something. Everyone has my phone number, right? So I'm going to go back to ACE IT. I'm going to go back to my other screen. So you're going to text me if you have a problem. And you're going to text me your email address. What's your email address? Okay, that's how. So I'm going to go to his email. I'm going to choose his lab. Then he's going to text me which machine he's having a problem with. So I'm going to connect to that machine. Now, I can start doing things on his machine to help you get unstuck. So if you're at home and you have a problem, you're watching the video and nothing's working, text me, I'll get on the system and help you. So I'm going to go back to my lab. So he was seeing what I was doing and I was seeing what he was doing. We use our phones for communication. So now it's asking me for a recovery password. Basically, when I convert a machine to a domain controller, it doesn't have local user accounts anymore. It only has domain accounts. Any other machine that's joined to the domain will have local user accounts and domain user accounts. But the domain controller won't. It's the only machine on the network, any domain controller. So what I need to do is create one password that's specific to this particular domain controller that will allow me to sign in to be able to fix Active Directory if Active Directory crashes. So this is just a recovery password, has no relationship to your domain admin password. If you fix your domain admin password or reset it, it won't reset this one. You have to use a special utility called ntdsutil to reset this password. If you go to a company and you don't know what the recovery password is, reset it while it's still up and running. You don't want the machine to crash to find out you don't know the password. Guys, I'm using our standard password, capital PA11WRD. Guys, in later classes, I'm going to go into more detail about what we're doing. It's trying to contact the other DNS servers that I put in our DNS settings and trying to create Contoso.com there. It can't because we don't have the authority. This is the error that you want to see, because if it can't do it on those DNS servers, it's going to install DNS and create it on this machine directly. That's what we want to happen. We want to be in charge of not only our domain, but our DNS. What does DNS stands for? Domain Name Service. And what are we creating right now? A domain controller. Two different meanings for those things. A domain controller is like a lion in Africa. His area that he controls, his security context, is the domain, his domain. So when we're talking about domain controllers, they're talking about an area that you control, your security context. In DNS, domain name means a namespace, meaning Contoso.com. So anything in front of Contoso.com you'll be able to resolve to an IP. So domain name service is a namespace. Something.contoso.com, you'll be able to resolve that to an IP. A domain controller, a security context, the area that you control. It's going to come up with a NetBIOS name, Contoso. Old form of name resolution, not very efficient. It's going to ask you where it wants to store some database files and some log files.
Wait, so quick DNS navigation or
I'm sorry?
quick create?
No. Just,
Just DNS?
yep. It has a database. That database is going to be copied to every domain controller. So every time you make a change, it'll be replicated to every domain controller. Log files. You don't make a change to the database, you make a change to a log file. And when it's safe to do so, it'll take that change and update the database for you. So if you add a new user account, it'll add it to a log file. It's called a transaction log. And then when it's safe to do so, it'll update the database. They don't want you writing directly to the database because you could be in the middle of replicating that database to another server. That log file is unique to this domain controller. So if you connect to this domain controller and create a user account, that log file will be unique. That information won't be on any other domain controller. When it updates the database and replicates it to the other domain controllers, they will then know about that database. They will know about that user account. The last thing is the sysvol folder. It creates this sysvol folder, which is like a network share. It's actually called a junction point or a reparse point. But you can think of it as a network share. Every time a computer logs in or a user logs in, it connects to the sysvol folder, and that's where the group policies are stored. That's where it downloads all the group policies every time you log in or every time you boot up a machine. We're going to review all the options that we set. It actually creates a PowerShell script for you so you can pass it off to someone else and create another domain controller. Because it's really going to run a PowerShell command in the background. It's going to verify that this server meets the requirements to become a domain controller. I'm sorry?
Should never done this first.
No, because it depends on what settings you've set. Yellow is warning, so that's fine. We don't care about warnings. I'm going to click install. Guys, and do your first break. It's going to take a while. And I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to press Control Delete to sign back in. Now on the DC, you don't have to worry about signing in as a local admin because there is no local admin. So you can only sign into Contoso.
Kevin, make sure.
You don't really know about DNS yet. It's in the next class. But one thing it did was if I go to local server and go to my network cards, when I initially set up my IP address, I configured my ISPs, which is the school in this case, as the DNS server. So the school has 2 DNS servers. I put those in as the IP addresses for my DNS servers. When I promoted it, it took those 2 IPs out and put in the loopback address. So this machine now points to itself. The DNS client on this machine will now point to the DNS server on this machine. Now I'm going to go to Tools, then open up DNS. I'm going to expand my server, then I'm going to go on, highlight the server, then go to forwarders. Now what happened is it took those 2 ISPs, DNS servers, and made them forwarders. So basically, everyone's going to point to me for name resolution. And to my server as name resolution. All the DNS clients will point to my DNS server. Even the DNS client on the server itself will point to my server. And when that server doesn't know the answer, it's going to contact these 2 servers for the answer. That's what a forwarder is. So when my DNS server doesn't know the answer, it'll contact these 2. So I'm going to click OK. I'm just showing you what happened with the DNS. Remember that delegation thing? This is how it fixed it. So it created a Contoso.com namespace, which will resolve names to IPs, but it doesn't automatically do the reverse. When I send in an IP, I want it to resolve to a name. It only fixes it so when you send in a name, it resolves it to an IP. So we need to do the reverse. So I'm going to highlight the reverse and create a new zone. It's going to be a primary zone, meaning it's read-write, and I'm going to store this information in Active Directory so it'll be replicated to all domain controllers on my network. Click Next. All the DNS servers in this domain will get this. So I'm not making a change to one machine, I'm making a change to all my domain controllers. Right now I only have one. It's going to be a reverse zone for IPv4. In our network, our subnet address is 172.16. Click Next. Any machine that's joined to my domain will be allowed to connect to my DNS server and create any records that it needs. Again, I'm going to do this a lot more detail in the next class. A lot of students are confused over DNS. They overcomplicate it in their head. I'm just going to go finish. So I'm going to open up a command prompt. You want me to come back there, right? Okay. So I'm going to use NSLOOKUP. I'm going to try to resolve 172.16.0.2 to a name, and it can't. Because I don't have a record for that in my DNS. Do you remember how we did the automatically create records? Well, I need to do this command, ipconfig register DNS. It will contact the DNS server and create a record for itself. A special record called a pointer record. Again, in the next class, I'll show you what it is. So I'm going to go back to DNS, highlight my reverse, then click refresh. And now I can see I have a record for that IP. So now I'm going to hit the up arrow twice. When I hit enter, it'll actually be able to resolve that IP to a name. I can also resolve that name to an IP. This is a record right here. This record right here, resolve that name to an IP, and this is a pointer record that resolved that IP to that name. Do you want me? I'm going to do. I don't have history, but I'm going to go hit the up arrow. ipconfig space / register DNS. If I was doing this in PowerShell, I would do register DNS. DNS client. Same thing. That's the PowerShell equivalent to this command. Command prompt command, PowerShell command. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop this recording so I don't keep having to record creating a DNS DC. So I'm going to exit out of here, close this. I'm going to call this video